Fostering connection through vulnerability, the People Pleaser podcast validates struggles, celebrates growth, and inspires positive change. Together, let's embrace authenticity, challenge patterns, and evolve with compassion. Hello. Welcome to the People Pleaser podcast. It's Corie, and I have a few people-pleasing updates for you, but they're actually, in fact, moments this week where I did not people-please, but really wanted to. And they both have to do with trying to prioritize my master's and trying to prioritize time to do schoolwork. And this is a new addition to my schedule. This is a new reality. And it's one that I'm trying my damnedest to take really seriously. I'm investing a ton of money, a ton of time, a ton of energy into this master's, and I'm only week 2. And with that, I need to make some adjustments. And they are adjustments that not only am I adjusting to, but the people in my life are also in a position where they will need to adjust to them. And that's been a struggle for me. That's been a struggle to really self-advocate, because it's not that I necessarily want to do school all the time, but this is a very intense program. At least I'm finding it to be, in terms of how much work I need to do weekly, how much I have to have a online presence and interact with my classmates and my professors. So this is just like my new reality. And the 2 examples that I want to share are the first being that my work, which is, as you know, a new job working at a restaurant, they asked if I could come in for another shift. And historically, I would have really struggled with this, because I'm very familiar, and I'm sure a lot of you are too, that what is my head saying and what is my heart saying? And sometimes they are saying 2 different things, oftentimes 2 opposite things. And there were logical reasons that I'm I could use the extra money. I'm trying to make a good impression. I'm new. I don't want this to kind of reflect poorly on me. I want them to ask me for to pick up shifts, and I don't want them to lose faith in me early on. Oh, Corie always says no kind of thing. But the reality and what my heart was saying was you need to do schoolwork. You only want to work 3 days per week because you have to prioritize your school. And there was that moment where I'm should I say yes? Is it okay to say no? And I did come to the conclusion that it was okay to say no, that I actually wanted to say no. That is what I actually wanted. I wanted the day to work on school, and I had, already worked enough this week. So that was the one. And, that wasn't a big one. That was, pretty safe. I was happy with the outcome. There was no backlash. There was no argument from my employer. It was very respectfully received. The second example just happened yesterday, where my husband and I were invited to a Mariners baseball game. Now, I've never been to a live baseball game. I've never been to a Mariners game. I think that would be such a cool Seattle, Washington experience. It's with our neighbors. All of these things, I really did want to go. Unlike my job, I wanted to go to this. It was a little bit more of a heart pull towards saying yes to this. But I had to really reflect on what that would mean in terms of my week, in terms of where I would put that schoolwork that I would have been able to commit like that entire day towards schoolwork. Like, where am I putting that time? Because it doesn't disappear. It just gets shoved somewhere else. And I don't have like excess amount of spare time. Like between working 3 days and this master's, it's like, okay, we're filling up. The schedule is filling up. And, what was really hard is that it was my husband asking, and I know there was an element of disappointment. Like, I know he would have really loved for me to go, and it was with our neighbors, and it would have just been a really fun day. Now, they're all still going to go. They're all going to have a great day. I'm going to sit this one out. And my hope is that I am just like able to build some really good structure. I'm able to spend a little bit more time with my schoolwork, knowing like how much time I actually need, and just gain more confidence with this new factor in my life. And hopefully I will be able to be a little bit spontaneous, a little bit like, yeah, I can take a day off. Right now, I just know that how I am in terms of managing my anxiety, I'm taking care of myself in the best way when I'm just saying, you know what, if you feel like you need to give school a little extra right now, give school a little extra, because the alternative would honestly be if I had said yes to that baseball game, I would not have been present. I would have like probably oscillated in and out of being present, but I know that in the back of my mind, all day I would have been worried. So I'm just not there yet. And I hope I do get to a little bit more of a balanced place, but maybe my master's isn't going to be the most balanced time of my life. And maybe the scales will be tipped a little bit, more towards school and the time I need to commit. And that's just something I'm still wrapping my head around. So both were, no one was hurt. There was no backlash. There were no negative repercussions. There was no argument. There was no guilt tripping. I was completely supported in both of my boundaries. And I think that's a really good reminder to us people pleasers, is that honestly, like, what is the worst case scenario? And can you handle it? And usually the worst case scenario to any type of boundary, to any type of like, I'm not going to people please and I'm going to, stand up for myself. There are it's very unlikely that that's really going to be an emergency crisis situation that you can't recover from. And if there are people who give you a hard time with these types of situations, like when you're truly standing up for yourself, speaking to your needs, setting boundaries, if people have a problem with that, let me just be super clear. That's not your problem. That's their problem to handle. And it's not comfortable. I won't minimize that. It can be really uncomfortable, and people can make us feel uncomfortable and can make us feel guilty or bad or make us second guess our choices. And again, that just speaks way more to their character and what they might have going on in their life. So I hope that sheds light on just it's a success story. It's a positive outcome experience of standing up against people pleasing. And if I can do it, I know you can do it. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about my experiences of outward perception and how my people pleasing can lean into upholding this outward perception. And I am curious if this is something that you relate to. I have a feeling this isn't something I'm dealing with completely on my own. And although my scenario may be unique, I think that the theme of this can be relevant to all different types of scenarios and life situations. As you know, I've just made this big life leap, and I have moved to the United States, and I have been like so supported and so celebrated in this experience. And I am so grateful for not just that support and that celebration, but to even be allowed to do what I've done. It is not lost on me that immigrating to the United States is a tremendous privilege. The process that I went through and how I was able to navigate it, I could not have done that without the privilege that I have. So I'm going into this with not only the awareness of like, not everybody gets to do this, but I'm also very aware of like how many people are cheering me on and have been there from day one, like while I've started this whole experience. And now I am in it. I am, in the United States. I'm kickstarting this life. And there is so much joy and so much to celebrate and so many great and exciting things. And it's really been difficult in a lot of different ways. And because for so long, this was like so anticipatory, so exciting, we were waiting. There was a countdown. It was like, oh my gosh. And then there was like the launch and I set sail and landed. And this is exactly what my husband and I have been working towards and wanting. It's been an experience for me that I want to uphold this, like, everything is amazing, everything is perfect. Oh my God, life is everything I've ever wanted. And let me be clear, life is amazing. This is exactly what we wanted. I have a beautiful life. And I've just completely hit the reset button on so many different areas of my life. I am in a completely new country, in a completely new city, starting a new job, a new master's. I'm living with my husband for the first time. I have, left my community. There's definitely emotion still at the surface of all this. And I just wanted to put words to it because I think so often we polarize our experiences. It's like it's either great or it's horrible. It's good or it's bad. It's this or that. And in this situation and in most situations, it's both. It's this and that. And I'm becoming more and more aware of this, incorporating more of this language into my life because it can be really easy to live in these extremes and speak in these extremes and be a little bit dramatic where we're like, oh my God, life sucks, or oh my God, life is amazing. And it's like, we have amazing moments, we have shitty moments, we have in-between moments, and they are moments in time, and we just keep moving through new moments and more moments. And although this is everything I wanted, it's also probably one of the most destabilizing experiences I've ever gone through. And I can be overwhelmed and I can be homesick and I can be lonely and I can be fulfilled and happy and excited and in love. And I want to just use an example, and I have to just apologize to my husband in advance because now that we live together, I feel like he's going to be referenced a lot. But the other day, my husband and I, we got into an argument, and it wasn't a big argument. It wasn't even like much of an explosion at all. It was just an experience where my feelings got hurt. And so I, in turn, hurt my husband's feelings. And we were able to resolve and talk it out. And here we are on the other side of it. However, in that moment when we were in it, he left the house to get food and I left the house and went for a run. And we just both did our own thing to cool off and collect our thoughts. And that is super healthy. I was very aware that that's what was happening. I was very proud of us and knew that we would reach resolution. However, while I was on my run, my head started to flood with these thoughts of like, I don't want to fight with my husband because we've, this is supposed to be such an exciting time. We're in the first month of living together. We're essentially in this like newlywed type situation, even though we've been married for almost 2 years. But like, it's like, this is exciting. These are the best days of our lives. Like, and now we're fighting, and now we've both like left the house, and we haven't reached resolution yet, and we're already arguing. Like, there's all this judgment, and not only was it like judgment of like myself and this argument we had and all of those internal things, but I was also like, I don't want to tell anybody that we got in a fight. I don't want people to think that we're fighting. I don't want to portray this sense that like we're getting in arguments. And it's like, Corie, shut the fuck up. Every couple gets into arguments. And the more we just talk about it and breathe humanity into it and breathe realness into it, the more we can just support each other and be like, yeah, same. It's the human experience. We're all crazy. We're all spinning out in different times, in different ways. We all run high and within with different emotions. We all run low with different emotions. So it's not even like a big example, and I'm, not trying to make it out to be one. It was just a moment in time where I noticed that I was judging myself, and I was worried of external judgment and what those external perceptions might be. Not that anyone would know, because the only way people know is that I'm talking about it on this podcast. But I have to really thank some of my girlfriends who are all married as well, and, have been there with me, for me, to just talk these things out, to be like, yeah, my husband's also annoying. Yeah, we get into it. Yeah, I'm also emotional. Yeah, I also can be irrational at times, or moody at times, or just need my space at times. And I want you listening to also hear that no one, whether it's your friends, your family, your partner, your kids, the people who follow you on the internet, no one is expecting you to show up in the same way every day or every hour. Like, we are diverse, dynamic humans with so many different experiences colliding all at once. And just because I'm in this like big, happy time in my life doesn't mean that all the other stuff isn't still there. Like, all my life's problems, all my insecurities, all my communication flaws, all of my shit still exists. It's just now in a different country. It's just same shit, different country. And I want to just be real that I am not firing on all, I don't know what the saying is, but I'm just not at my 100%. I don't even really know what percent I would rate myself at right now. Like, it really depends on the day. And I think the best thing I'm doing for myself with all of this is I am allowing myself to hit the reset button every day. Every day is a new start. And I also give that grace to the people in my life. So I give that grace to my husband. I give that grace to my friends and family. Like, we all get to start brand new every day, especially if we are communicating, we are trying to seek resolution, we're trying to be the best versions of ourselves. And I actually really like this one quote that you've probably heard or maybe not, but it's basically that if you wake up and you are a 30%, like whether that's your energy, your mood, your output, like what you can give the world is 30%, then 30% is your 100%. So no one should be expecting, especially you, for you to be operating at more than a 30% because you have communicated, this is where I'm at. These are my boundaries today. This is my capacity today. So that 30% is all that we should expect. And I'm trying to adapt that mentality. I think I'm quite generous when I can give it to others. And I think as people pleasers, that's a common experience where we will give everybody else this wide berth, this huge, these huge levels of understanding and grace and just like, oh, don't worry, you're in a bad mood today. No worries. However, when we are in a bad mood or we're only operating at a 30%, I think we can be super critical of ourselves and we can try to push ourselves to be more than what we're actually capable of in that day. And that doesn't yield great results. That can quickly lead to burnout. That can lead to resentment. And guess what? You're resentful to yourself. You may try to project it onto somebody else for a while, but usually it comes back around and bites you in the ass. So outward perception can be tough. And, I think we see it a lot online. And I know in my life on the internet, there have been many people in my circles or, people I follow that have pushed and put out content and shown up and, been a certain way online. And then one day they just say, hey, I can't uphold that expectation anymore. I can't keep up with that pace or that velocity. I'm tired. I'm burnt out. I need a break. And there may be disappointment that people experience. They may be like, oh, well, I liked when you posted every day and I liked when you had 30 stories and all these interactive posts and you were sharing all these aspects of your life and you were there. Like I felt like you were there and now you're not. However, there's only really two outcomes. One is that they keep pushing themselves to the point where they're being genuine, they're being dishonest, they're inauthentic, they're losing their purpose, or they take a break. What would you prefer? And then ask yourself, are you that person? What would you prefer if it was you? So I'm just going to keep trying to show up as real as I can. I think I'm pretty transparent. And, recently I am doing 100 days of posting on Threads. And I was up to day 28 or 29. And I pieced out for 10 days. I stopped posting for 10 days. And I actually had no idea that it was that many days. I thought, oh, maybe I took 4 days off. Nope. 10 days had passed. And I didn't even think about Threads. For the first couple days, I was like, yeah, not doing it. And then I just forgot about it completely because my attention, my mind, my energy was just needed somewhere else and actually a few different places. And then I picked it back up yesterday and I just said, hey, I've been going through it. This has not been a priority. I'm back. But just because we say oh, I'm going to post on Threads for 100 days doesn't mean that there's any type of consequence if I don't do it for a few days. And I think that people can get hard on themselves when they feel like they're possibly letting people down. And again, I think that like right size it in your mind. Like, is this a situation where people are actually going to get hurt? Me not posting on Threads for 10 days didn't harm a soul, not a soul. No one noticed. However, if it was maybe showing up for someone in person or backing out on a commitment you made to somebody else, I would, really encourage to uphold the integrity of that person and that relationship to the best of your ability. And that really, again, comes down to just communication and letting people know like where you're at. What can you give? Like if you have made a commitment and you either can't do it, say that. If you can't do the whole thing, say that. If you need to reschedule, we know this stuff. We know. And I think the pet peeve that most of us experience is when there is a lack of communication. And I try to give as much communication and with as much notice as I can. And I think kind of the crazy thing that the pandemic did was really let us prioritize rest and self-care in a way that we never had before. And I think hustle culture was already kind of coming to an end, but I think the pandemic literally halted it to a stop. And it was no longer cool to totally burn yourself out, work crazy hours. I remember we used to brag about how tired we were and how many hours we'd worked and how little we'd eaten. And it's all so, toxic, but that's a tangent. However, I think what I'm really just trying to emphasize is that if you need to take care of yourself, take care of yourself. The rest will figure itself out. Okay, I've been blabbing. This is a real yappy episode. So I am going to end it here. I'm not going to quite end it. I'm going to just say one more thing. I am toying around with the idea of moving my episodes to Wednesdays. That is because my work schedule has changed and I'm now working Sunday and Monday. So that kind of with my episodes coming out on Tuesdays, that's kind of a little bit of a busy time. So moving them to Wednesdays would just give me that extra day. I haven't decided yet, but I will keep you posted. Very likely I will keep you posted on Instagram. So if you're not already following me, follow me over on Instagram at peoplepleaser.pod. And if you want to follow me on Threads, I am most of the time talking to myself. And I am doing the 100 days of posting on Threads most of the time. So, if you want some somewhat consistent thoughts from my brain, you can find me in all kinds of places, rambling and yapping on all of those platforms. All right, folks, thank you so much for being here. As always, sending you big love, big smooches, and I will talk to you soon. Once again, this is Corie with the People Pleaser Podcast. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. And if you liked what you heard, please consider leaving a 5-star rating and a review on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can find daily content from me on both Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you on the next episode.